If the highest figure in the world when it comes to Christianity goes and visits an Islamic nation and does not preach about Jesus Christ being the way to God, being the path to salvation, and rather talks only about, oh, these two can coexist, what does it mean for us local people? Should we even be going out and evangelize? Should we be going out there to win souls for God? And welcome once again to the African Wiser podcast. I am with my friend and my co-host, Mr. Rogers. Today we want to talk about the Pope's visit and how religion should play with politics. Should these two be joined together? Can these two work together? Or should they be two separate entities which exist? I don't know, Rogers, what do you think about the Pope's recent visit to Cameroon and in Africa in general? But let's start with Cameroon.
Well, once more, my brother, thank you for the introduction and thank you for giving me the opportunity. It is actually iconic that the Pope visited Cameroon, as all the other popes, I think, has been visiting Cameroon. And the difference in this visit was the fact that people were expecting a lot from the Pope as he was visiting because of the socio-political crisis that was going on. And when a religious leader is coming to a nation that is having trouble, like the Pope, people really expect that, oh, maybe he's coming to see how he can talk to the government or see how he can negotiate peace, enforcing peace to the country. And a lot of people had that expectation. And that is why one of the reasons why a lot of people were excited and really curious in what the Pope was coming here to do or coming here to do. And to look to look at the visit, I don't think anything of that sort was really discussed. He came on a religious aspect. He did what he is supposed to do, and he left. And I think to understand better, I don't think he was in a better position to actually do something because the Pope is a religious leader, right? So he came to Cameroon for more of a moral influence rather than a political influence. And a lot of people were expecting him to be like, okay, I want peace in this nation, or to say, okay, the government stop the violence, which I don't think is really something that the Pope can do. That is something that the government can do, though he can influence that decision, but it's not, he cannot make that decision. And if you want to understand the Pope as a body, as an entity, or as an individual, he's coming more from a moral authority or a symbol of peace, someone that is above politics, if you want to put it. That is why a lot of people had the hopes, and when the hopes were not met, they started questioning, or was his visit really successful? Did he really come to do what he wanted to do? Was that
Yes.
his visit? Why did he come? And a lot of people are still asking questions till today, or they are equally
Right.
asking if there were some underground talks about the crisis, or
But
it's
do
amazing.
you think the hope of the people was misplaced? Do you think they should have, had that hope that he was going to, maybe influence the situation of the country in one way or another? Because he did talk about the crisis. He
Mhm.
did talk about how the people who are involved in the crisis should sit down and try to sort it out, and how we should, work together to achieve peace. He mentioned it, and I know, and I do believe that the Pope was very much aware of the problem in Cameroon, and
Mhm.
that's why he put Cameroon as one of the countries which he had intentions to visit. So with his visit, do you think the hope of the people were in the right place, or do you think that it was a little bit misjudged?
First of all, when you have a problem in your home, and in from a Christian background as you and I, when you have a problem in your home and when you can't solve it physically, who do you turn to? You turn to God. So that is what the people were expecting. The people have been expecting the government to do something for this crisis, and when the government seemingly hasn't really done much, so when the Pope visit was announced, they were really excited, and they turned to God. That was the first thing. But one thing we should understand is, with even the message the Pope was actually preached that day, he came from an aspect or from a point of view of influence, not maybe giving command. And that is what the people should understand. He was just trying to influence, oh, okay, I think you people should try as much as possible to do peace, or to make peace between you and me. But he did not command us to be like, oh, you must have peace. That is coming from a point of influence, and
Mm.
we understand that the Pope does not really have that command to enforce ceasefire or pass laws and to
Yeah,
say.
but considering how influential the Pope is, and Cameroon being majority Christians, it's a Christian nation majority,
Mhm.
do you think that he should have used his influence in one way to, or another, to gather the separatists and the Cameroon government, put them together and say, all right, have a chat? Do you think the Pope should have done that? Or let me just put it in this way. Do you think religion should play a vital part in getting the head of the government and the head of the separatist fighters to sit down and see how they can sort the crisis?
Of course, religion has, like I say, an influence, but they cannot make the decisions. They cannot make the commands.
Should religion be part of the government? That's just the question.
Religion has always been part of the government. If you want to look for the past, even in the mediocre age in England, religious has always been the one putting the crown on the king's head, and also trying to see how they can pass some laws. If we want,
Mm.
so religion, from I think from the day that we understand, from the moment we start understanding about life, religion has always played a very important part in decision making as when it concerns the government. But to say that religion should lead, or should come, or the Pope should come and to Cameroon and be like, hey, government, separatist fighters, you sit together and sort this out. I don't think it's their place to do so. Like what the Pope did, the Pope tried to put his influence out there, because obviously he had to address what the nation is going through. He put his influence. That is what he can do, but he cannot make final decisions. Yes, religion has always been a part of the government. They have always been in trying to influence, like I'm saying, to do or to make laws, but they cannot really 100% implement those laws or to enforce those laws, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, I do agree with that, that religion can or should not be, making policies in the country. And I am 100% for that. But I do also believe that the aspect of religion and the aspect of the church, we should take into consideration the moral principles which these organizations bring to
Exactly.
a nation. And if we carry, if we are as the leaders of a country, for example, follow the religious leaders, follow the Bible, follow the Quran, well, the good parts of the Quran and the good parts of the Bible and everything, follow the preachings. If we follow these lessons, then I think we will lead the people correctly. But if you take into consideration that there's already a crisis in the country
Mm.
and people are, judging what the government is doing, they are talking about the bad things which the government is doing, and not just the government, even the separatist fighters themselves, people are talking about the things which both sides are doing. If the Pope comes to the country and these people actually respect the man's influence, respect him as a religious leader, should they follow what he actually said? Because if they should follow, we've not seen that happening. They are Christians as well, but the way they've led the country has not been in a Christian way. So to say that the Pope should only come on, let's not say the Pope, the religious leaders should only be there as a point of influence, which their influence at the moment is being ignored. Do you think we need maybe a little bit a stricter church, a stricter religion that would enforce its principles and its teaching, and also intervene in solving um, crisis around the world. Because if you take, for example, if you look at the government of Iran, for example, the way it's run,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm not going to say that I admire it or not, they have a supreme leader who is their religious leader, and they have the president. And everything the president does is in coordination with the supreme leader, the religious leader of the country. The religious leader is the head of the armed force, is the head of almost everything, and the president is just the head of the government. So, taking into consideration that Iran is very strict when it comes to its principles, when it comes to its religion. And that's why you see there's a lot of protest there about like women should be more free and all, which I don't believe women should be more free. But the government has a little bit of a stronghold and they can enforce and put a little bit of, they can put more things in place to make sure that laws are respected. So, because of that aspect of that religious leader being in power, the country experienced a little bit more of a stability, although, like every other government, it has its criticisms. If, for example, Cameroon or the church of the world, the world's church, was able to, go into a country and put the people together, order them to sit down and discuss, not necessarily making the laws, but being able to influence the law in such a degree by taking these two people and bringing them together and making them talk and solve the problem. Does that make sense? I don't know. Do you think it's something which can be considered or should even exist?
It is something that should exist and is existing, but the issue with that is the fact that we don't have one religion in the world. We don't have one religion, and if we want to talk about religion influencing you, we have to ask ourselves, okay, which religion should we have that should influence? That's
I
the first
mean, every nation has its religion.
religion, yes. And you understand that every nation has, like in Cameroon, we have the Islam community. So imagine if the bigger side or the broader side is the Christian community, right? So imagine if 90% of that is being if the laws in quotes are being enforced from the Christian community side, the Muslim might not want or might not like some of the things that they are doing, and they'll be like, no, I cannot do this. Just say for instance, if in Cameroon and it is said that okay, only monogamy should be legalized. The Islam community will have a problem because they will not tie to that. And another thing, if the church is coming as you're saying, not influencing, but coming to like having a strong hold on the government, it means that you're saying that they should replace the government because the government will not have, I don't think the government will have any part or anything to do again when it comes to the government. It means they will just sit and be like, okay, you have said so, let's just do what you say. Which is, I don't think that they should do that. Religious or religion should influence the government as they have always done. And we have to understand that if they go in that deep, they themselves will be corrupt. We've seen it. And anytime you see you have a religious in a country or a religious power that is so much more than the government, they in turn in themselves being corrupt. Even in our church that we go to, when you have one person or a group of people have a lot of power more than the other people, they in turn are biased in their judgment, and some religions are biased in their beliefs. I Christians can believe okay this is right, but Muslims can believe this is not right. So even if in a community or in a country where the population is one religion or Christian, the population in the country is more Christians. What about the inferior or what about the people, the minority? Would they have a problem? So yes, religion should be an influence, yes, but I don't think religion should be the one to sit down to um, start dividing conflicts or to start bringing people together to solve their conflicts.
Mm.
That answer your question. And also,
Yeah.
if I ask you one question, who do you think people follow more, religion or government?
I mean, it depends. The government makes the laws. But when it comes to the moral principles and how to live your life, it's the church, it's religion. So that's what I think.
And that is why a lot of people were having hopes that the Pope will come and maybe liberate Cameroon.
Yeah, because they were looking at it at a morality point and an expectation that because the Pope has such morals and he will want the crisis to end, he
And
should have the ability to intervene and make sure that it ends.
he wants it to cannot implement that. He can only influence, he can only tell the government, try to do something to solve this problem. That's what he can do. This problem is these, the cons and the pros and the cons about the problem, but I think that's the only influence that he can have. To me, I don't know about maybe what some other people might think, but saying that the Pope should come to Cameroon, sit down in his white, and tell the separatist fighters to come and the government to come is something that is not realistic. It's not realistic. It
So he
might,
cannot be a mediator.
yeah, it might happen, but it's not realistic. And no matter the outcome, people might feel biased. And even though the outcome will be peace or should be peace, but who knows? Who knows? Talking about religion and the church involving in religion, we get to understand that there are some points or there are some important things that the government can do, sorry, the church can do when it comes to the government. The first is the moral principles. We see how you spoke about the fact that they should make laws that actually align with the morals of the religion or align with the morals of the church,
Yeah.
knowing what is good and bad. And we equally need to understand the diversity in the religious aspect, like the Pope visiting Algeria. To me, that was iconic in the sense that Algeria is a Muslim country, right?
Yeah, Islamic.
Yeah, we have two different religion, but the Pope visiting it just shows maybe the oneness that the world is trying to, or the church is trying to bring together, to me, which
Yeah.
is good, which is
Yeah,
good.
that's the question. If we as Christians are there to win souls and we believe that Jesus Christ is the only way to heaven, the
Hmm.
only way to gain salvation.
I know where you're going to.
Yeah, why is the Pope going to Algeria and saying that we should coexist? Yes, we should coexist, but should his mission not be more to win souls for God, for Christians, for Jesus Christ? Should that not have been his mission? It's just a question.
It is a question, and you have a point. You have a point in the question, but one thing we should understand is coexist can be in two different terms. We can be like, for instance, we can work together, coexist together, but we don't necessarily like each other. But we're just being like, let's
Yeah,
just.
but they always say when we're growing up, you know this one, they always say you have to go out there, you have to preach the word of God, you have to preach the message that Jesus Christ came to die for us and bridge that gap between God and humans. So if the highest figure in the world when it comes to Christianity
Mhm.
goes and visits an Islamic nation and does not preach about Jesus Christ being the way to
David.
God, being the path to salvation, and rather talks only about, oh, these two can coexist. What does it mean for us local people? Should we even be going out to evangelize? Should we be going out there to win souls for God? If the highest person for Christians
That
is
is
not
the
doing that.
reason that we should go out, because it shows the unity. It shows that they are not only coexisting, they are not only acknowledging the fact that there is Christianity and there is Islamism. It shows that there is unity amongst them. If both of them can sit one day and talk and say, hey, I acknowledge that you're existing, I acknowledge that I'm existing. Yes, maybe we can start there, right? Maybe we
Then when we start there, where do we go to? Should we now be talking about, oh no, the true religion is Islam or the true religion is Christian? You should convert to this one or this one should convert to this one.
That just proves that there is one God, the one God that we serve. And the God that we serve is the God that both of them serve. And
Yeah, that's what you think. And there are people who will disagree that Muslims and Christians do not serve the same God.
of course,
Yeah,
people
there are people who say that. So
just
for those people, how are you going to explain to them that the God that the Pope is serving and the God that the imams are serving are one God, and we should all exist? We should not be telling one person to convert from one religion to another, or another one to another, or to say this one is the true religion, or the other one is the true religion.
both of them have their separate beliefs. They are both okay religion that they are based on. If you look at, I haven't read the Quran, but I've maybe heard some verses in the Quran. If you look at the Quran and Christianity, both of them, if you look at it, if you want to look at it very well, they have some things that are tying together. Even though there are some things that no, there are some differences, but we have some similarities or a lot of similarities. That is where I stand. And for people that are saying, okay, you convert to this person convert to this person. Yes, I am from a Christian background. I believe that Jesus Christ is our Lord and personal Savior. And I believe that only through Him we can be saved. That is what I believe. That is what I know. That is what I trust.
But
Right?
you will not go out there and try to tell a Muslim to convert to Christianity, even when you know that Jesus Christ is the only way to salvation.
Not that I will not go out there. I will. If I have the opportunity, I will talk about Jesus. I will talk about be safe. But at the end of the day, it depends on the person.
Right. So with your interaction with him, yeah,
Yeah.
will that be a conversation with your Muslim counterpart?
It's obviously I have actually interacted with a Muslim. It's not going to
And did you tell them to convert?
it is going to be an argument because that's how it always leads. It always comes to be an argument. Oh, the Muslim is doing this, especially someone that is a true believer of the Quran. They'll be like, the Muslim is doing this, the Christian are not doing this. And
And have they tried to convert you as well?
they have tried to tell me that their system or their God, or not their God, sorry, the Quran or the Islamism is the best way or is the way to Christ. That is what they have said. And that
Glory
is
to God, not Christ.
sorry. And my brother, a lot is going on. And that is
Yeah, no, the reason why I'm asking these questions is simple, Martin Rogers. It's
yeah,
simple. Because if you and a Muslim are having this conversation and you guys are trying to, trying to tell each other which one is best, this person should convert to this one or this person to convert to this one. Should our two people, the imams and the Pope, which they finally met, should they not have had that conversation to show us the light?
they are
Give us a little bit of spice, that debate, for us to watch that debate and see if between the Pope and then the highest, the Imam of Islam,
uh-huh.
to see who will win that argument. This is me looking for gist.
That is where we are getting the all of this wrong, trying to prove which is the best. We shouldn't try to prove which is the best. People are entitled to believe in whatever they believe. If I have the opportunity to go tell people about Christ, I will tell people about Christ. And for a true Muslim, if they have the opportunity to tell people about Allah, they will tell people about Allah. And it depends on you. I have heard stories of Christians converting into Muslim, and I've heard stories of Muslims converting into Christianity. So it's like that. So it depends on the individual. It depends on what you believe. I don't think we should be out there to argue which is the best. That's not the way forward for me. I think we should first of all preach what the Bible says, which is unity.
Yeah.
We should preach the unity, and that that visit that the Pope did in Algeria is preaching that unity. So we should follow the example. I work with Muslims. There has never been a day I will be like, oh, because you worship Allah, I will not do this, or I will not be your friend, I will not talk to you. No, why? Why should I do that? We talk, we communicate, we understand each other. He is telling me, he's giving me some aspects of the Quran that okay is similar to the Bible, and I'm giving him that is similar to Christianity. That's what we do. We exchange. At the end of the day, no religion or sorry. At the end of the day, I know that I believe that we are both serving the same God. I might be wrong, but I might be correct. But I believe in what I believe, and I choose to believe in what I believe. But if I'm
Mhm.
doing the evangelism, I'll not go out there to convince people to follow Christ. I'll go out there to tell you, if you don't want to, all right, that's your problem. But
If you're doing evangelism, you should be there to tell people to follow Christ, yeah?
telling is one thing, convincing is something else.
And you have to convince them. It's your
I'm
job
not,
as a Christian to win souls for God.
I'm not there to do sales. I'm there to preach about the Bible. And
So
if,
people listening to this will say then it means you're not a true Christian.
of course, they will say that, which is okay. They are entitled to what they say. They are not entitled to what I believe. That's the truth. You get it? That's what I think. That's what I think. And talking about religion, now let's bring it a little bit further to the world. Do you
Yeah.
think do you think the world or religion should be involved, or how many percent or should be involved in decision making as a whole, like what is happening in Algeria, sorry, or the
Every country, I want to take the example based mainly on America.
hmm
Every country follows a certain religion.
yeah,
And if we can take the morality of the Bible and translate it into our lives, then there is hope for everybody. Then we can say religion should be involved. But just like you pointed out in when we started, that we cannot allow politics to get involved with Christianity or with religion because those religious leaders themselves might get corrupt and make decisions biasly. That's why we have the government.
yeah,
And these two should never mix. And that's why you see they have this debate in the United States of should the government be involved in marriage? Because marriage is not a governmental stuff. It's a religious stuff.
yeah.
So that's why they always ask that question. So for me, I'll say that I don't those two should be two separate entities. If you want to be if the church wants to get involved in politics, it should only be involved based on the moralities of it.
hmm
So the church can get involved. The question is, should the government get involved in religion? You see, because if you want the church to get involved in the government and in politics, then you're also opening the door for the government to be involved in the church.
Church.
Yeah, and the government passing the law of saying that, for example, the church should go ahead and bless homosexual marriages. So now that's where this interlocking comes, and then we start questioning if the two should actually get involved. Because if one gets involved in the other one, then they are going to there might be a little bit of a break in our morality and in the things that we believe in, and that has been historically believed by Christians.
I think the issue should not simply be whether the church should be involved in the government. It is how that involvement happens. If the church is coming in a position where they guide values without forcing them, then they should be involved. But if they are coming in a way that they have to seek power and control, then I think that it can harm the freedom of people, and it can actually harm the people that are in with other religion.
Yeah, it will harm, and we've seen that in history.
Yeah,
We've seen it even in present day, where the Iran government is it's a religious government, it's an Islamic nation, and
exactly.
we are seeing how people are protesting in Iran about breach of freedom. So just like you said, it's very dangerous when the church becomes a political institution because there are laws that we know that the Bible or the Quran they are very strict with that in this modern society, if those laws are actually forced onto people, it is going to tamper with their freedom and it's
Exactly.
going to be very, very detrimental for us.
At the end of the day, Denzi, expecting a religious leader to solve political crisis is unrealistic. But also ignoring their influence would also be a mistake. So if the religious community is coming from a point of influence, not control, then I think that alone defines their role. And to end, yes, they should be involved with the government, but they should come from an aspect of influence. Once more, my brother, thank you very, very, very much for this amazing topic. And it was quite interesting you bringing the Pope going to Algeria. We should always, that was that
Yeah,
that was good, but I enjoyed the conversation as I have always enjoyed. And if you're watching, this is Africa Wise Up. The things that are happening in the world are so crazy that we need to be informed in any way. If you're watching this podcast, please subscribe, like, and share it with your friends. And give us a thumbs up to know how we are doing in whatever we are doing. And also, just comment, let us know your thoughts. And with that said, thank you once more, my brother, and see you in the next one.
see you in the next one.